Hello guys, this is Alex here from Growing Younger Team and Bodyfit Physiotherapy. Now today we're going to talk an important subject of stretching. I get asked a lot by my patients about what sort of stretching should they be doing, and quite often people get confused because there's so many different types. People talk about static stretching, dynamic stretching and PNF stretching. So today I'm going to decipher it for you. I'm going to explain what the difference is and which type of stretching you should be doing, okay? So let's start from static stretching. Now this is probably one of the most common types of stretching, and essentially what it involves is when you put a stretch on your muscle, you actually hold it there for about 20 to 30 seconds. Now research has proven that it takes about that long for a stretch to be effective, basically to lengthen your muscles and to make you more flexible. So between 20 and 30 seconds. Now, there's an extensive amount of research. I know at least 5 different studies that have proven that static stretching definitely helps to improve your flexibility. So if you want to become more supple, more flexible, static stretching is definitely the way to go. Okay. Now, for the sake of demonstration, let's say I'm going to stretch my quadriceps muscle, which is the muscle in the front of your thigh. Okay. So I'm going to stretch it like so. So I'm going to grab the ankle, bring my knee back and pull my thigh back, okay? So I'm just going to hold it there for about 20 seconds. Now this is your static stretch, okay? So it's simple as that, all right? Now the downside of static stretching is that there's a little bit of research that says that if you stretch immediately before you start to get involved in some sort of exercise or high level activity, it actually reduces the power in that muscle or the strength, okay? So let's say if you wanted to go for a sprint and you stretch your quadriceps and your hamstring muscles just before you go for a sprint, it may possibly affect your strength or even your speed, okay? So that's why it's not generally recommended to do static stretches, especially if you put a lot of force into it, just immediately prior to intensive exercise, okay? Now, the second type of stretching is dynamic stretching. Now, dynamic stretching basically doesn't involve holding the stretch, so you keep on moving. So let's say if I was to stretch my quadricep muscle again, instead of holding it in that position, I'm just going to swing my leg up and down, okay? And as I bring my leg back, I'm going to bend my knee, so that way the muscle still gets a little bit of a stretch, okay? So no holding, just moving, okay? As an example for a calf muscle, you might have seen people on the street when they run, they basically hold against the wall and they bounce on their foot. So that there's no holding. That's a dynamic stretch, okay? You keep on moving. So the research has actually shown that the dynamic stretching is not very good for improving your flexibility. It is not effective, okay? So if you want good stretch, if you want to work on your flexibility, the static stretch is better, okay? But what it's actually good for, it's good for as a warm-up, okay? So as we have said before, static stretches may actually reduce your muscle power prior to exercise, but dynamic stretch is absolutely fine. So you can actually use it as a warm-up to get the blood flowing through your body just prior to exercising, okay? And last but not least, okay, PNF stretch. Now PNF stretch is a bit more complex. I'm not sure if you heard about it, but there's a lot of evidence to say that it's the most effective type of stretching for improving your flexibility. It's even more effective than static stretching, okay? So there's one study that was done in 2016, and they actually had a few groups of people. They did static stretching, they did PNF stretching, and no stretching at all. And actually, what they found is that the static stretching over a 4-week period helped to improve hamstring flexibility by 5 degrees. So people were able to lift their leg up straight by 5 degrees more by doing static stretching over a 4-week period. Now compare that to PNF stretching. Those same people so a different group that was doing PNF stretching, these people were able to lift their leg up 15 degrees higher, okay? So pretty much almost 3 times as much of an effect. So So PNF stretching is way more effective than even static stretching, okay? So if you want to improve your flexibility fast, PNF stretching is the way to go. Now, what is PNF stretching? Essentially, it's, what it involves is before you actually start stretching the muscle, you actually tighten it, okay? So you contract the muscle before you stretch it. So for example, if we're stretching the quadriceps again, so the front thigh muscle, I'm going to grab my ankle, and this time I'm going to push my ankle down, but my hand is holding it, okay? So I'm going to resist it. So I'm going to push my ankle down, try to straighten the knee, hold it for 5 seconds, push, 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 and then let go and relax, and again hold it for, so I'll pull my ankle up and essentially do a static stretch for 20 seconds. So there's a contraction of the muscle followed by the stretch, okay? So why it helps you stretch better, it's quite a complex theory behind it. There's something called Golgi tendon organs, that these are little microscopic organs inside our tendons. Essentially, when you contract a muscle, it activates the Golgi tendon organs, and they actually inhibit the muscle. They basically help the muscle relax. Okay, so when you relax, you usually get a better stretch. That's why if you contract the muscle, it activates the Golgi tendon organ, and then it inhibits and relaxes the muscle, so you get a better stretch. Okay, so it's pretty complex process, but you don't have to remember that. But essentially, PNF stretching is by far the most effective way of stretching your tight muscles and improving your flexibility. Now, next week I'm going to do another video, and we're going to talk about stretching again, but this time I'm going to talk about if stretching is actually helpful for prevention of injuries. Okay, so we hear a lot that people tell you should stretch more because it helps you prevent injuries. But is it actually true? Okay, so I'm going to go through a lot of research, and I'm going to give you the answer next week. Okay, so watch out for this video. Maybe like our Facebook page, and I'll talk to you next week.